The Dallas Cowboys traded away Micah Parsons in one of the dumbest trades that we've ever seen. We'll tell you what kind of dynasty impact that'll have on the team next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Michael Fabiano. We are not fans of the Dallas Cowboys right now. I'm a longtime Buffalo Bills fan. You here to see Fabs?
I'm proud of you, by the way. I'm proud of you because you made fun of me for wearing Joe Montana jerseys and Harold Carmichael jerseys, but now you get it. Now you understand. You get it now, and I'm proud of you, Marcus.
I don't know if I get it. It's all dumb. Anyways, the Dallas Cowboys have traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. But why are we talking about Micah Parsons on a dynasty football show? Because believe it or not, this is going to have a big impact on the Cowboys, one of the offenses that we expect to be among the highest scoring in the league. So what do you think this trade does for the Cowboys this year and in the near future from a dynasty perspective?
Before I even started that, I just can't stand Jerry Jones. This is why. This is why. Like, I saw that trade and I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. You have to be kidding me. What are you doing? And some people would come on and say, Jerry's had good drafts. And while this is a strange trade, maybe it'll work out in the future. No, it won't. Micah Parsons actually fell into Jerry Jones's lap in that draft, just like CeeDee Lamb. And if you want to go back and look at the 2023 regular season, the last time the Cowboys were good, they played a whole bunch of cupcakes, and then they got their butts handed to them by a 7 seed. Jerry makes awful trades. Trey Lance for a 4th, John Mingo for a 4th. He pays for superstar talent at the highest level where he could have done deals prior to that. And he talked at that press conference. I literally almost wanted to punch my television when he's like basically defending trading away Micah, who he called Michael almost the whole time, because they needed to stop the run. And Kenny Clark was
But hold on, this is all of our hate for Jerry Jones. Let's turn it back.
Okay, all right, well, I'll get into the fantasy stuff. So this is actually a good thing for the Cowboys offense and their fantasy players. Why? Because this defense is going to end up being one of the worst in the league, and they're not going to be able to rush the passer. And even though you bring in Kenny Clark, that's no guarantee you're going to be able to stop the run. Okay. Just like when you drafted Mozzie Smith a few years ago and he stinks. So now the Cowboys, much like compared to the Lions last year. Now the Lions defense was really good as constructed at the beginning of the year, and they just got hurt like over and over again. Guys got hurt. And so the defense wasn't good. The offense had to score points in order to keep up with the defense giving up points to the opponents. And that was good for our fantasy teams. And so really my stance hasn't really changed on Dak that much, because I've always thought that like Dak was a guy that I could get late as a QB 17 right now. His ADP's in the 150s, he could throw for well over 4,000 yards this year and give you 30 touchdown passes, if not more. CeeDee Lamb, obviously his value is not going to go up because it's about as high as it can possibly be. I think there's one player here, and you were going to talk about George Pickens later on in the program. He could actually benefit, and not just in the short term, but in the long term. But if you're looking at this from a pure fantasy perspective, this move, as weird as it seems, Marcus, to say, from a fantasy perspective, could give you even more value and more points on the offensive side of the football.
I think in theory, you're correct. However, what we've seen like in the Cowboys history, and I'll give you an example. 2020, they had a really bad defense, right? Remember, this is the COVID season, and Dak was putting up really good numbers in that season, but it was stressing him out having to basically shoulder that big of a load. He ends up getting hurt in week 5, right? 2025 or 4, excuse me, they have a really bad defense, and Dak is having to shoulder a lot of the load on offense. He gets hurt again. Now, I don't think those necessarily go hand in hand, but you're going to be putting a lot of burden on Dak in this offense to score a lot of points. And as good as I think this offense can be, I don't think it's like Detroit where they can run the ball and throw the ball and they've got weapons all over the field. I'm actually worried that this trade could maybe do the opposite, where they're going to struggle so bad to get off the field, like on third downs and in passing situations, that we might just see the number of possessions limited in these games. Teams are still going to score 28, 30 points in the Cowboys, but it's not going to be 45 to 42 type of shootouts because I think the Cowboys offense is good, but not great. That's my fears, that we just get a lot of games where teams are controlling the ball for 35, 40 minutes and the Cowboys offense isn't able to get back on the field.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's the opposite side of things. Also, I mean, the Cowboys have the 5th hardest schedule in the league this year.
Brutal.
So listen to this. So you got to play the Commanders twice. You got to play the Eagles twice. The Giants will be better. You got to play them twice. You got to play the Bears, who are going to be better. You got to play the Packers in week 4, where Micah, I hope, sacks Dak 10 times. You got Denver, the Cardinals, and then their last 7 games. Like, and this is meaningful from a fantasy standpoint. Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, the Chargers, and then the Commanders.
Well,
that's freaking brutal. And then the Giants are the regular season finale in fantasy. That doesn't matter much.
I also just won't be surprised, Fabs, if this team is really bad. Like they get off to a 1-4 start and they are, 3-8 at some point, and then we get to the fantasy football playoffs and George Pickens is resting and CD Lamb is resting and they're evaluating Joe Milton because there's no sense of putting Dak out there. I just think the range of outcomes for this offense and the fantasy players is even wider now. I could see it going in either direction. And I don't necessarily think that's good. Like, I think the potential of this offense being in a lot of shootouts is fun. I think there's way more downside that could happen now that you've gotten rid of your best player on defense.
Listen, if it gets to the point where the Cowboys are sitting Dak Prescott, like I don't see that scenario happening at all. Jerry Jones paid him a lot of money. They're not going to use Joe Milton just to see what they have in him late in the season. So I don't know that is a road that I think Jerry would go down. But I mean, just Jerry just traded Micah, so who the hell knows?
I'm just open to a wide range of possibilities now. Like I think because their schedule is so difficult and because this team I don't think is very good. We see this all the time. Like these teams that we think are going to be really good offenses, by the time we get to the second half of the year, that's not necessarily the case. I do think there is one player, though, that could greatly benefit from Micah Parsons being traded. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Upside. Hey, football fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump. Use our limited time code TOUCHDOWN to get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas that you already needed. At first, I thought that was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using our limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for a limited time 25 cents per gallon bonus. That is promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. NFL season is back. For some fans, it's the best time of the year. And there's nothing like being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between login screens and prices jumping at the checkout. It's all incredibly frustrating, but that's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by a Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I love the Gametime app. It's why I've been able to go to a lot of Bills games here where I live. I'm not going to those Cowboy games anymore. One of my favorite parts of the Gametime app is that you're going to know exactly what your seats look like in the app before you buy. You're going to get a panoramic view so you can figure out what's the best spot to be in for the game. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, download Gametime today. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You're killing me, bro.
I know. Listen, it's a very depressing time to be a fan of our team. We have an important request from you guys. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer questions about our advertising. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. And everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that is lockedonpodcast.com/survey. And you can also find the link in the show notes. All right, Fabs, let's talk about the one player that could benefit the most from this Micah Parsons trade. It is...
That's George Pickens.
Yeah.
And there are several reasons. First off, what we talked about in the opening segment is that the possibility that the Cowboys are going to be getting beat a lot and have to throw the ball obviously is going to benefit Pickens and the receivers. Jake Ferguson is another one too, who I think is a very good bargain as the tight end 16 right now with an ADP in the 130s. But this also, and I think you and I are probably thinking the same thing, opens up the possibility of Pickens sticking. All right. How about that? That was a good rhyme, because now you're not paying Micah Parsons. Sorry. So the Cowboys could franchise Pickens after this year for 2 years. They could decide that they're going to pay him. So maybe Pickens is going to remain a Cowboy for more than just that 1 year. And I think
do you know who his agent is, by the way?
Everyone. What's that?
Do you know who George Pickens' agent is, by the way?
Oh, no, don't tell me.
David Mulligetta, the same guy that just did Micah Parsons' contract.
God.
I will say, Jerry Jones
talked doesn't about, end.
I know.
Pain doesn't end.
Jerry Jones talked about David Mulligetta in the press conference last night. He did say that David's not too fragile to have to work on other deals. The Cowboys have Tyler Smith coming up, who also is represented by Athletes First. So I do think Pickens is going to get a deal done. CeeDee Lamb said something very interesting a couple weeks ago. He said, someone asked him about, hey, what do you think about this being, the 1 year that you and Pickens get to play together? And he said, it won't be. Basically, and he kind of winked like he knows what's going to go on here. And honestly, with the Cowboys having some extra cap space because they didn't sign Micah Parsons, because they gave up a 3rd-round pick for Pickens, and because so far things have gone well, I won't be surprised if Pickens gets an extension sooner rather than later. And while that might suck to see him not in a situation where he can be an alpha number 1 receiver, being on a team that's going to have to score 35 points a game to just be competitive isn't a bad spot for him.
Literally, I'm tearing up. I feel like I lost a family member. It's like so yes, it is. So it is good for Pickens. I would expect that the Cowboys would do their best to try and keep him, even though the agent probably hates Jerry Jones maybe more than we do. Well, now that's not possible. So again, Pickens, who's young, still in the prime of his career, in an offense, is going to have to score 35 points per game, as Marcus said, maybe even more. Who the heck knows? So that could end up being a positive. And then you have Dak, and you have CD, and you have Pickens, and you have Ferguson, locked up. So you got the core of that offense. And then next year, when the Cowboys have all these picks that Jerry Jones will probably mess up half of, maybe the Cowboys go out and get a running back who's good, which they haven't. I mean, listen, Rico was good last year. He's not great. It's not what we're used to. We're used to Emmett and Tony Dorsett, and we're used to, guys like Zeke Elliott, not Javonte Williams and Rico. So, maybe I am trying to be so positive here, and I am having a hard time, but maybe from a fantasy standpoint, some of that draft capital is used to even improve the offense a little bit more. They're already really young in terms of their offensive line. So again, I don't know that this is a positive, certainly from a fantasy standpoint, but it's teetering on that way where the Cowboys are going to be able to maybe use some of that draft capital to get a good young running back, a high end type of guy, and keep George Pickens. And then you have, the quartet plus maybe a young running back, and then you're looking at something. But still, the defense has so many issues that's going to be a focus as well. I'm trying to be positive here, Marcus. I really am. I just can't stop looking at that Buffalo Bills beanie on your head, and I love it. I love it. I wish I should have wore. I wore my Joe Montana this week. I should have wore like an Eagles jersey, like my Randall Cunningham, because I love Randall. And anyways, go ahead, man. I'm at such a loss. I've had such a loss today. Like, it's just awful. It's just so terrible. But I am trying to find the positive in it from a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to talk just about fantasy because talking about the other team makes me too depressed. I do think Pickens is going to have a bump in value. The Cowboys are just going to have to throw the ball more. I was already concerned about their running game to begin with. So I do think he adds some value. And I think another one is Jake Ferguson. And we talked about this a month ago when Jake Ferguson signed his contract extension that locks him into Dallas for the next 5 seasons. We thought, hey, in an offense that we project to be good with a quarterback that's pretty good at throwing to tight ends, he's a winner. But for the same thing, like, Cowboys are going to have to throw the ball. And I think the path to Jake Ferguson getting a lot of targets, not just this year, because I expect the Cowboys to throw a lot of picks on defense and resources on defense over the next couple of years. It's going to take them a while to build that defense back up. So Ferguson, for the next several years, he's not in that elite tight end tier of like George Kittle and Bowers and those guys and Laporta. But man, after that group, like, after the Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, I think he's right there.
Yes.
I think you can value him as a borderline top 12 dynasty tight end because he's going to get so many targets and high leverage targets this year.
And keep in mind, like, Ferguson had 1 year as the starter when Dak played, the majority of the season, and he was a top 10 tight end that year. And last year, obviously Dak didn't play most of the season and Ferguson's numbers went down. Dak and Ferguson have a really good relationship. And I think that's part of the reason why Ferguson got an extension, because he and Dak have a rapport. And so, and listen, I mean, historically, like, let's look back, the Cowboys have almost always had good tight ends. You go back to Jay Novacek. For those of you who are old, like me, or older, you can go back to Doug Cosby. And then obviously Jason Witt. And I love the smile on Marcus' face I put in with Doug Cosby there. Good old number 84. Mm-hmm. And, Dalton Schultz was good for the Cowboys. And now Ferguson is the next guy in line. And he's young. He's in the prime of his career. I think he's 26. So this is also a good thing for Ferguson too. And whether it's a redraft or a superflex draft or a startup, whatever the case may be, I really like getting Ferguson where he is based on ADP because I think it's a great bargain.
I agree. As for the running backs, I wouldn't be investing in any of these guys. Honestly, I feel even stronger that the Cowboys are going to trade for a running back at some point point during the season, because
brother, they better not use one of those first round picks on somebody who's in the last year of their contract. I will lose my mind even more than I already have. I don't know if I can.
I don't. Oh gosh, I don't even want to say. I don't think.
Marcus, I mean, that would be. You've got all these picks, and I admittedly, you are the college football guy. I am not. And I don't know what kind of running backs are coming out of college in 2026. There's got to be somebody the Cowboys can go out and get in the draft and not trade for. I don't want Breece Hall. I don't want Ken Walker. You know what I mean? Like, they're fine. I don't want to trade away the draft capital it would take to get, some of those guys. I don't want that. Just wait, get a young guy next season, someplace in the first maybe 2 rounds.
All right, let's stop talking about the Cowboys because it's making us very depressed. Let's talk about Ollie Gordon, who suddenly has a chance to be a real fantasy factor this year. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. We've already accomplished the preseason. We're all done there. College football is back. Football is here. We have officially made it. Whether you got your eye on a big name quarterback or a breakout running back, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in the game. And for this upcoming week, PrizePicks is offering a major max discount on Dak Prescott. He just needs to throw for more than a half a passing yard. He will. The Cowboys are probably going to throw for 400 yards this week. They're going to have to. I love PrizePicks for so many different reasons. They put their members first. All their withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They also have some fun things like the flex play option. It's a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you can still double your money. Download the PrizePicks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. It's another big moment for Locked On college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, along two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. All right, Fab, let's talk about something not so depressing. Let's talk about Ollie Gordon. We got some news on Thursday, biggest news of the day from what I can tell, that Jalen Wright is going to miss multiple weeks with an injury. Devon Achane is dealing with a calf injury. Now, he is expected to be ready for week 1, but we know that calf injuries can be a little tricky. What should we expect from Ollie Gordon, who looked pretty good in the preseason?
He did, and certainly a player whose value is on the rise. And you know, a lot of people are like, well, Jalen Wright could end up being a sleeper this year. You know, Achane, if he misses time, well, now you throw that moniker onto Ollie Gordon. And the bad thing for him is that Achane's in his third year. He's a young, explosive running back, and so it's not like this is a guy who's who might not keep the job for the next 2-3 years. I mean, you know, obviously contract situation aside, with Miami, we think that's going to be the case, but Gordon could end up being like a valuable handcuff because again, I mean, Achane is not the biggest dude out there. Okay. He's not a big guy. And so the calf injury seems to be much ado about nothing. He seems to be like ready to roll for week 1, but you got to be careful with those kind of injuries. And so if anything should happen, all of a sudden, Ollie Gordon is the RB1 for maybe a short period of time in an explosive Miami offense, and that's going to benefit him. Obviously, his dynasty value has gone up. It hasn't shot through the roof, but it's definitely gone up to the point where, like, now, you know, we're talking about him here.
I just can't switch my brain to think about anything else. But no, that's I'm just joking. And I wasn't the biggest Ollie Gordon fan coming into the draft, but he was somebody in 2023 at Oklahoma State that was an awesome player. And frankly, I think Miami could really use somebody like this. Like I as much as I love Mike McDaniel's run game, it lacks some physicality. And you see this show up in a lot of these big games against better opponents. Like, I don't think Ollie Gordon needs to be their version of Jerome Bettis. Like, it's ridiculous, right? But could he be somebody that gives you a little bit more inside power and be able to move the chains a little bit? I mean, was it Tyreek Hill talking about how Achane's not really a short yardage runner, you know, back in the offseason. I think Gordon actually is a pretty good complement to Achane. I don't think he's going to have a lot of value with both of them together. I don't think this is like Achane's rookie year when Raheem Mostert and Achane are both startable every single week. But he is somebody like I'm just watching this year because, again, he's a tiny running back with a calf injury. And those guys that are really twitched up, sometimes they have a hard time staying on the field. And that was the knock on Achane in the draft and even the first couple of years of his career. I think Ollie Gordon is somebody who goes from a 6-7 touch guy early in the season to, I wouldn't be surprised in October if he's leading this backfield in carries.
Wow. That's bold, Cotton. I would say
I mean,
that.
not because of talent, because I think Achane's a better player. I just always get worried about these guys that are smaller running backs staying on the field.
Well, but I mean, at some point, Wright's going to be back too. So to me, this is an opportunity for Gordon to prove that, like, yeah, maybe I need to be second on the depth chart, even when Jalen Wright comes back.
Are we convinced, though, that Jalen Wright's a better player than Ollie Gordon? Because I am not.
I haven't seen enough of these guys, and obviously we haven't seen Gordon in a real NFL game yet to really make that determination.
We'll see. It's just one of the backfields that I'm keeping an eye on because much like Dallas, I think Miami's going to have to score a lot of points. And I
their
trust
defense is going to be bad too.
their defense is going to be bad. And I trust Miami's offense to be good, even despite the shaky offensive line, because I think Mike McDaniel is that good at designing offense. So I want one of these guys in a backfield that's really relatively cheap right now. We're seeing Ollie Gordon get a little bit more expensive in the rookie draft that you just did. I believe he went in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
I will be shocked if that's still the case over the weekend. We're going to have a lot of rookie drops over the weekend.
He's going to push up.
I think he's going to be at the tail end of the 2nd round.
Yeah. I think he'll push up as well.
All right. That is it for today's show. Thank goodness. Well, I promise we're not going to do this Cowboys soap thing, whatever. I soap opera next week. We're going to talk about real fantasy football because we got games starting on Thursday. We're going to get you ready. We're going to
Cowboys too.
I forgot it's the Cowboys. We're going to get you ready. We're going to talk about some guys that you need to promote from your bench to your starting lineup, some trades that you need to make right before week 1 kicks off. Football's here. Can't wait. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good year, and we've got you covered here on the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I am at Marcus_Mosher. Enjoy your holiday weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday.